Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So actually, I'm here in the BRANY offices in New York, not in Florida. And I'm a member of the BRANY IRB. And here at BRANY, we have been mostly involved over the last 20 years in the review of interventional studies, clinical trials of investigational drugs, biologics, and medical devices. But over the last few years, we've been receiving more and more observational research studies. And often these studies are from new researchers, and sometimes the studies even represent a researcher's first attempt at a research project. Often these studies are more of an exploratory nature for some areas of research that are new. Quantitative studies may not yet be possible because the important variables to be studied and measured are not yet known. So we see qualitative studies that may use survey research and or focus groups where participants are asked open-ended questions to try and determine what those important variables in a particular area of study are. Sometimes observational research studies are also used to collect quantitative data and are used to test a hypothesis. So we do see case control studies, things like that, where subjects that have a particular outcome are compared to a group that have not experienced that outcome, the controls, and their exposures are compared. Now, it's also been our recent experience that these new researchers are often residents, and often the data collection method of choice is the chart review. So the rationale for developing Protocol Builder was to provide new researchers with a tool to construct a protocol. So we would have a support program for residents and new investigators. In addition, we have also developed a number of courses that are now available through the CITI program that will provide new researchers with introductions to various study designs. And I think these courses in the CITI program would serve as an excellent supplement to Protocol Builder. So with that background, at this point, Neal, I'll turn it over to you to go through some of the characteristics and the processes of that Protocol Builder tool.
Thank you, Dr. Belotto. All right, so what I'd like to do from here, first, are you guys seeing the screen right now? Okay, good, just want to make sure. All right, so we already discussed that it was developed by BRANY, which, by the way, is the Biological Research Alliance New York, which is actually owned by these four very high-level nonprofits. And then, as was mentioned, CITI program and HRP Consulting are also part of the BRANY family. So basically today we've taken a quick look, we've heard some from Dr. Belotto, and now basically what I'm going to try and do is actually show you tools to how you can actually build a protocol. I'm going to focus on a chart retrospective protocol because that's most probably what you're most interested in. And I'm going to actually show you the steps that could be used to create and edit and output in Protocol Builder a protocol. But at the same time, we're going to be going through and taking a look at, what makes up a typical retrospective chart protocol and just give you a little bit of background on that as well. So that's what I'm planning to do today. And the goals are really to make sure you get an idea of how to write protocols, get an idea of how you can collaborate and talk to maybe your program director and maybe IRB support if they can do that with you. And then also make sure I focus a little bit on the special tools that we've been released for our brand new resident and new investigator support program, which is part of the subscription that Cooper has for Protocol Builder. So one of the nice things about Protocol Builder is the way our licensing works is they have unlimited protocols and limited users. So basically, Cooper has gone ahead and invested that for you guys, and now you can use it as much as you would like, and it's not going to impact the university in any negative way. So basically what we're going to try and do is help make the process easier to write, at the same time more complete and compliant. And I think you're going to see that we have tools that really kind of step above what's been done in the past, which is kind of like Word templates and such. You're going to see this is just a nicer way to do it if you've even seen that before. And one of the really nice things about Protocol Builder, by the way, is when you learn how to do a chart retrospective, you've already learned the vast majority of what it would take to do an interventional combo, with repository. And that's one of the beauties of Protocol Builder is there's a lot of, consistency in the way it works. So, when you do future protocols, you'll probably find it very, very useful. Real quickly, we do have this special resident new investigator program. We do live training webinars, but we're doing one for you guys today. Sometimes we do them in general, but we're doing them specifically for you today. You're going to also see, and we've given you guys access to some helpful articles above and beyond just protocol writing, but really looking at the whole research project. So we have stuff on conducting a successful residency research project. We have another article available to you on retrospective chart review methodology considerations. There's another one on, the 6 common mistakes people make. So we're trying to give you a bunch of different tools and your, program directors and stuff to help everybody both, learn how to write a good protocol, be able to discuss it and collaborate on it as we're working on it, but in a very efficient manner, and then getting the output that you're going to need for your, scientific review committee and your IRB. So that's kind of what I was going to try and do. As was mentioned, you guys actually have the subscription for Cooper already set up. Your username will be your email and then the password you create. So we've actually uploaded about 915 people from Cooper. Most of them are residents, but it also includes the faculty. So you should probably you might already be signed up. And I will show you, and then you should have received a welcome email from us. I saw some of you must have because I could tell that some of you have logged in. If anybody is not or having a problem with that, please let us know. Sometimes we get caught up in spam catchers and that kind of stuff. And we should probably make sure that they try and whitelist us for emails over there in case you guys are getting those emails. All right, so one of the nice things is you're going to have a sign-up page that's going to come off of a place that makes the most sense. It might be from your GME page. It might be from your research administration page. That will be worked out, and we'll let you know where that is. So you'll be able to log on there. You'll also be able to log on whenever at www.protocolbuilderpro.com. And then the upper right-hand corner, there's a link to log in. So if for some reason you can't access that page, or maybe you can't access it when you're remote or something like that, you can get into Protocol Builder another way and use your username and password to log in. So with Protocol Builder, we really have the full suite of templates that people typically use. So we have everything from your retrospective chart reviews and observational retrospectives. But then we have repositories and prospectives, and then we have interventional drug and device and drug and device, and we have the NIH IND IDE grant protocol, as well as interventional behavioral, and we also have a brand new social behavioral, which is actually in less a different kind of language, which is more appropriate for psychologists and such. So we're going to focus a little bit on the retrospective chart review because that's the one you're probably going to want to use. And I was showing you this all on screen. So you're going to see this is the table of contents, and we'll get into that. We're going to take a look at how Protocol Builder offers you guidance and even sample text in key places so that you can take advantage of that kind of stuff. And I'm going to make sure to show you our resource center. You're going to want to take, and I'll point out what that is in just a minute, because we have a whole bunch of those tools for residents and new investigators here, as well as other general tools like, places where you can reach the NIH or, clinicaltrials.gov and all those different places. So, as I do this, we're going to go through some interesting parts where I'm going to try and show you about how we can collaborate and how you can basically, work with the people that you need to work with to actually, get feedback on this, without even having to be on the phone or anything like that. and I will definitely focus on how to show you how to learn the product. We're going to learn some of it today, but you're going to see that we're recording this session, and then we have other posted trainings that we do, and then we also do monthly live trainings as well. So there's going to be many, many ways for you and your compadres to get in and learn how to use Protocol Builder, and then, if necessary, relearn it or work on your skills. So I'm going to go into Protocol Builder now, but before I do that, are there any questions or thoughts somebody want to ask about? Okay, then let's go into Protocol Builder. So now we're actually in Protocol Builder. All I have done is log in. Again, normally you will use a username and password. I can actually show you that. So what happens is once you get your welcome emails, your username is always your Cooper or Rowan email address. And then the password is one that you'll set up based on how you responded to the welcome letter. If for some chance you either forget or lose or something your password, you can just put in your username and then click the forgot password, and it'll send it to your email address, which is one of the reasons why it's important to have it be your current email, because things are sent to your email that you're going to want. We should double check and make sure our email things are whitelisted, because some of the emails you'll be sent would be like collaboration requests from your other people. So sometimes some schools have whitelist issues, so we'll take care of that with the emails. But here we are in Protocol Builder. We're at the front page. And one of the things I want you to notice, hopefully, and you'll feel throughout, is that we try to make this a very easy, intuitive product that's both easy to learn and easy to relearn. But at the same time, we've added a lot of help and training features just, again, to make, so that you really can get to where you want to go. So you're going to see that we don't have a lot of menus, and we don't have a lot of layered menus. I'm going to go ahead and just start you off with help. Help is up here in the tool ribbon. You just hit the help button, and basically these areas of tutorials are downloadable tutorials. The basic user trainings can be similar to some of what stuff we're doing today, and then there's some more advanced trainings on how to work with references, which we're going to talk about, how to use the needs review and compare revision functions, and how to clone and push protocols to others if you want to, in other words, to use for as a template. So we'll take a look at that. We also, though, offer, we have live user trainings twice a month that you can sign up for right from here. Taking a tour takes you through the screenshots if you want to go through it that way. We have a user guide that's more textual. You're going to see that much of the user guide and other things are actually in the actual product and the tooltips, which I'll show you when we get to them. And then this particular FAQs are technical FAQs. These are not marketing FAQs. So you don't have a lot of them, fortunately, because you don't have a problem, but things like, well, I copied some stuff in from Word and I'm getting some weird printouts. Why is that happening? We typically might know the answer. So this is a good area if you're using the product and have a question to go to if you have a question. Now, we also have this help desk that's open 12 hours a day Eastern time, Monday through Friday. So there's many, many ways for you to get help. And then, of course, you guys I posted my email. You're welcome to email me as well. It is really our goal to make sure that you are assisted as quickly as humanly possible. All right, so now I'm going to use the little tool over here for the home page to get me back to the home page. Again, something you'll be using. So what you're seeing on this home page, the center are the last 3 protocols that I was working on. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because I'll show you the file cabinet in just a minute, but again, we just made it real easy because normally most people are only going to be working on the last 1 or 2, possibly 3 protocols that they were working on. So it just makes it a little easier to grab. Just so you notice, above this blue bar is going to be information from Cooper that might be something like, these are just examples. So this is a Mystical University example. So they're saying their submissions are 7 days before the meetings, which are on the 3rd Friday. And another thing they're saying here is, here's the special guidance for Mystical University. You know what I mean? So you're going to have some different stuff there, and so you might want to make sure you look at that. Below the blue bar is news from Protocol Builder. So again, you might want to look there as well. But again, the stuff above the blue bar is specifically for your institution. All right, so we can see from here, there's a couple other things up in the tool ribbon area. The globe here is that resource area I told you about, and I really recommend you take a look at it, especially if you're not done a lot of this kind of research in the past. First of all, we have all the stuff from the resident new investigator resources right here for you, including the articles and the tips tutorials and all that kind of stuff. But we also have links to the NIH. You know, we have links to the FDA and their forms, and we actually work to keep these all updated. So that makes a big difference. And you know, you got to be careful because sometimes you can go out on the web and pull stuff down that's actually not current, which can come back on you and make you do stuff over again. So that's why one of the reasons we try and give you one place where you know things are going to be current. We have glossaries here, which we'll take a look at, clinicaltrials.gov glossary. We have these external links, which are the places that, you know, people who are doing this kind of research typically want to go. So again, these are all here for you. Again, it's here to assist you. Okay. Oops. Sounds like War of the Worlds over there. While they're working on this, did anybody have any questions they had? It's actually designed to be incredibly quick. We really designed this, and that I hope you see this in the way we did the product, where we have the minimum amount of menus. We tried to make this a real quick to learn and a quick to relearn product. And you'll also see that we use things like Microsoft Word standard for many editing functions and stuff, just so that people don't have to relearn new things too much. So I was just showing you the links that you can use within the resource center of Protocol Builder. So the other real important kind of menu choice up here is the protocol file cabinet. And these are all the protocols that you have you are either the creator of, the principal on, or you have been noted as a contributor to. And so one of the things that you may see in this area, depending on how Cooper chooses to use Protocol Builder, is you might actually see like a template from the leadership there. So for example, like when you take a look at what McLaren did, you can see that they actually created a resident protocol template, and then they actually use the cover page to push it to all the residents. And then this is a case where a particular resident started writing their protocol, and they just changed her name in the cover page. And I'll be showing you this kind of stuff as we get further along. So again, you might want to look. You might notice that something is quick. I'm sure you're people will tell you if they put in one specifically for you, but it's interesting. That's why it might be there. All right, so let's talk about how we would start a new protocol in Protocol Builder. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to click on starting a new protocol, and then basically it's going to ask for a name. We'll give it one. And we'll have a principal investigator. So I'm going to use my stage name, which is Carl Sagan with a K. All right, and then I'm in the. You will notice that we have some interesting investigators. Mark Wahlberg is an important investigator in our thing. So when he isn't doing movies or doing Wahlburger, he's obviously out there doing medical research. So we can go ahead now and choose, whichever one we want. So in this case, I'm going to choose the retrospective chart. But again, I can choose any of the ones that are from the list. By the way, we also have a wizard that will help people choose the right protocol for their needs. So basically what you do is you go through the decision tree. So it's saying, okay, do you have a repository? They say yes. Okay, is the repository the whole purpose of the study, or is it part of a larger study? It's part of a larger study, so I'll hit that. It's going to ask now, is this observational, interventional? You can see a tooltip that's giving us a little bit of information here, and you're going to see we do a lot with these tooltips on other parts of the product. I'm going to go ahead and pick an interventional. And again, I can just keep going through the decision trees here. If I pick, device, it's going to keep asking me questions until, it gets me to where, to the end. And so now it's picked an interventional significant risk device with repository based on what I picked. Now you can see the table of contents that's come up here. Now let's just say that what I really wanted was an interventional, or I wanted a retrospective chart. So notice the table of contents on the left. When I choose the retrospective chart and then hit save, so Protocol Builder wants you to save your sections before it considers them, what you want, because everything you save is actually saved to the audit log, and I'll show you that later. So now you can see that the table of contents has changed fairly significantly based on the choice of now retrospective chart. But one of the real nice things, though, is the order of events is generally pretty similar. So like your IRB is going to like Protocol Builder because your retrospective charts and your interventional combos are going to have more in common than maybe two observational retrospectives do today. So now we can take a look at the protocol. Now, here in the table of contents, a couple things to notice. Okay, so each section, like the cover page of synopsis, and then each one with a number and each one with a plus on it has subsections underneath it. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. And you can see what the subsections are. Okay. In a minute, I'm going to show you a protocol with content in it, so you can see some of the other features of Protocol Builder. But just for now, I wanted you to see, each of the steps. And again, these are the good steps for a good protocol. And this is one of the ways Protocol Builder is really going to help you by giving you an outline and giving you the the basis to work from. So what's really nice too is we go into different parts. So like if I go into primary objective, okay, and let's say I'm kind of curious what is that, or what is that really supposed to mean? So when you click on the tooltip, you'll see we have a fairly extensive explanation of what this is. So it's going to help you understand what people are looking for you. Now, in some cases where it was appropriate, when I hit the edit button, which allows us to start editing, and now you see that Microsoft Word kind of window I told you about, you can now see that one of the options may be sample text. So when you click on sample text, we're actually going to give you the structure of a sentence or two that might be perfect for what you need. And you can basically just insert that by hitting insert, and it'll put it right in the body for us. So what it's trying to do is help people by giving us sort of a commonality of language that's designed to be correct, and just makes your life easier. So that's another one of the really nice features of Protocol Builder, is that we're really trying with guidance and sample text just to make your life a lot easier. All right, so you can see the different steps, and again, this will walk you through it. Now, Protocol Builder, in many ways, is like TurboTax, which I've been using for a long time, in that you don't, I mean, you can choose to start at the cover page, and you can go, you know, do the cover page and hit next, and it'll take you to synopsis, and then hit next, it'll hit you to the statement of compliance, you know, and go through it in a, you know, in a serial manner. But most of us don't work that way. I don't do it that way. I don't do anything that way. I tend to go bounce around between the different subjects, and that's what we find most people are doing. I mean, it does make sense to start, you know, with your background and rationale and make sure you understand your purpose and all this first. But in reality, most of us tend to, especially if we're doing collaboration, tend to work on the sections, you know, in sequence, in parallel, while we're doing other sections. So you'll see how we can do that. So one of the nice things we do is, now I'm in the cover page. Now much of this cover page is, some of this stuff is you just type in, you know, what's your study title, what's your study number. We don't generate that for you because it's normally generated somewhere else, like in your EIRB submission system or somewhere else. You know, your IND number, your IDE product, that kind of thing. And then this is where you can add in your folks that are going to be collaborating with you. Now, being you, if you create the protocol, it's going to create you as the principal investigator to start. Okay? Are you guys still with me? Okay, went quiet there for a minute, so I was either awing you or I lost you. So, okay. So say that one more time. Well, actually, we are in a retrospective chart, but those are available to you to fill in if they're appropriate. So, I mean, it's funny. You would think in a retrospective chart, you wouldn't do that, but that's what's in there, I guess, just in case you do it. But you don't need to do that. This is just there, you know, those are spaces that are there for you if you want them. If you don't use them, it doesn't matter. So what is important is that once you are in the side, okay, and if you want to collaborate with other people, you want to add additional people to this study. Now, you're allowed to have as many principals, as many investigators, you know, we have medical monitors, key study personnel, which would be like biostatisticians, research administration. Research administration is only separated because a lot of times, normally they're not printed on the protocol by convention. If you want your research admin printed on the protocol, put them in key study personnel instead. Okay? So when you want to add, so let's say you wanted to add your program director as a investigator with you, not as the principal. If you want to add another principal, and the way the Protocol Builder always works when you want to add something to an existing category is you click on the circle with the plus in it, the gray circle with the plus. So if I go ahead and click on this, it's going to give me another principal. Okay? So if I start typing in a name, so let's say I put in, as we mentioned, Mark, and it's going to, usually it picks it up by now. There it goes. Okay, so then you can click on it because it knows that we're already here. Now, if it didn't find that person, what you can do is you can check for them or add them to the account if they're not there by using the search database function. So I'd click on it, and then I would put in the email. If I put in an email that it recognizes, it'll let me add them to the study directly. If it's an email it doesn't recognize, it'll give you the opportunity to add that person to your study. And you are allowed to do that. Cooper's allowed to add anybody they need to add as part of a study. So if you have an investigator in Nairobi that needs to be part of the study, then you just go ahead and add them using this method. So you would type in their email. It would then hit search, and it's going to say, oh, you're not found. Do you want to add this to the account? So you would then just continue to put at least their first name and last name with the email. and then hit submit, and then they'll be added to the Cooper account, and they will be part of your study. So you can really bring in anybody you need to have as part of the study, whether or not they're already signed up in Protocol Builder or not. Okay, so that's a really useful tool. Now, once you set somebody up, okay, we can assign them a role. The normal role you'll probably assign is writer, which gives them full access to write, including adding people to the cover page. If you check reviewer, they can only see the sections that are done, and they can make a comment in one section, but they can't add people to the. Somebody have a question? No. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting a little feedback here, so it's hard to tell. When you choose writer, that gives them full right to add people to the protocol as well as edit all the sections. A reviewer would only let them look at pieces of the protocol, and it would let them put comments in the message center that I'll show you, but they can't add people to the protocol. So if it's a really important protocol, if it's a cure for cancer protocol, you probably want to be more tight about who you make writers, because you may not want your biostatistician adding in random people into the study that you didn't approve, right? So that's why it's kind of set up that way. Okay, so we add our people into the study and then hit save, and then what's going to happen is those people will be pushed this file because they're now part of the study, and it'll show up in their protocol box. Okay, so now what I'm going to go ahead and do, for the sake of showing you how the product works, I'm going to show you in another protocol that's already been has content already in it, because it's just more useful to show you how Protocol Builder works that way. So when I click on a protocol that exists, the first thing I'm going to see are my dashboards, which are going to give me an idea by core section what is the relative completeness of this protocol. And it's a tool that's very helpful for everybody to have a real gauge of where we really are on this protocol. So now the menu button below does one very important thing. It brings up the table of contents with also the needs review button and the summary of changes button, which I'll talk about for version 2 and later protocols. So that's all the menu does, and that's part of what we try to do to keep this a simple to use product, having as few layered menus as humanly possible. So what are we seeing out here? Remember I told you about these sections. Now the addition of the green circle and check, let me explain them. If a section has a green circle and check on it, that means it's been entered into and marked as complete. If it has a gray circle and check, like this one does, it means at least one of the subsections is in draft, which is noted by being a gray circle and check. Okay? So when you get both of these drafts from these subsections in green circles, then section 5.2 will have a green circle on it. So it's just very, very easy for you, much easier than Word or Google Docs, to kind of see where am I on this in this progress. And I'll show you in a minute how we mark the relative completeness. We'll get over there in just a second. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the study objectives. I'm going to go into the primary objective. And what it's going to do, because I've already edited it, it's going to show me what's already in it. Okay? So you can see that. Now, again, here's that tooltip that shows me the guidance that I might want to have. So the little bubble on the right here with a number on it, that is a message window that's associated with each subtopic of Protocol Builder. And the idea here is that this is an ideal place for you to communicate with your collaborators on this subsection. Because think about what you typically might be doing. You might be, let's saying, okay, let's talk about what statistical method we want to use. Well, the nice thing about the Protocol Builder message area is it's saved with the Protocol Builder file forever. So if we were doing a study that was like a real study, and then 2 years from now we're looking at the results, we might say, didn't we have a conversation about statistical methods? you know, if you use this message window, it'd be very easy to find. If you use email or some other method, it could be very hard to find and very hard to associate, you know, with the actual section. All right, so that's what this little bubble is up here. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the edit. Was there a question? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Oh, it sends an email to them with actually not only send an email, but it sends an email with a link directly to this section of the protocol. And it'll also, you'll see in a minute, can have a personalized message as well. Okay, so that is not for this section though, excuse me though. This section, this message section just listed here does not send them an email. I'll show you the other one in a minute that sends the email. That's probably what you'd be using for something you'd want an email sent for. So I'll show you that in just 1 second. Okay, so here we are. We're now in the edit portion. Okay, so here we have our word-like menu for most things that you probably already know how to do. But what we do is we've added a couple other functions that are not done as well in things like Word. Like one is just a really nice scientific symbol library, just real quick, real easy. So that's real nice. The other thing we can do though is we can create our abbreviations, because what Protocol Builder is going to do for you, it's going to build out your references, your appendix section, your abbreviations, your glossary, and your list of tables for you based on what you put in these sections. So that can make life a lot easier. So let's say I want to make this into immune suppression as an abbreviation. So I could type in immune suppression, save, and then, all right, okay. So now we've created that. I can go ahead, I can also create glossary terms. Now, one of the things you may have noticed earlier from the link page is we had a link out to clinicaltrials.gov and its glossary section. So I could just go there, pick up the term I want to use, then go over to my document, highlight the term I want to create a glossary term out of, and hit glossary, and I can put in my glossary definition. That's not the right definition, by the way. I understand that. I just was showing you for demonstration purposes. So now you can see the glossary term, and then when we save this section, which, by the way, we save our section, we have the choice here of saving a draft or saving complete. And this is what I was talking about. You're just making a choice. The purpose for this is just to have an understanding of where we feel we are on this section. It's not going to lock us out for good. So we save as complete, we're not locked out from changing it again. So we can save as complete and then go back and edit again and save as complete, or we can edit and save it back as a draft. The purpose of this section, of that particular way of doing things, is just to help communicate to ourselves and others where we really feel we are in the progress of this section. And then as you'll see, it affects the whole progress of the whole protocol. So it's helping you manage that process. All right, so we can do simple page notes, which are real straightforward. So I'll just put that in. But one of the really nice features of Protocol Builder is how we can deal with references. So we can do a reference on the fly, and we do that just by going add new, and you can just go ahead and type in the data that you want to type in. But the reality is, if you're doing a protocol, you should already have, you probably have all your references already, or at least the vast majority of them. And as a matter of fact, you probably have them in like EndNote, or pull them down from from PubMed or whatever you've done. And so we have some great facilities to handle that. So what you can do is, let's say we were working with, well, I'm going to work with Zotero because that's what I have. But let's say this was, could also be EndNote. So here's, a section of citations that I put together that I've saved and I've labeled. And basically what I do is I create you export, and this is how it works in EndNote as well. I export as an RIS format. You want to export the notes, and then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and give it a name and a location that you can remember. So I'm going to say Cooper, 11-6-2018, and I'm saving it to my sample reference section, and there I've done it. That's all I have to do. Now the next step would be to go to the profile guide, and in one of the few cases where we have a sub-menu, you can go to references, and now I can upload that into my repository of references. Now, we keep it as a repository because many, many people use references more than once. If you do a certain kind of research, a certain kind of reference, you very more likely will use it more than on one protocol. So what I do is I go ahead and I load a file. I found the file that I put in. So I click Open, and then I click Upload. And now the little wheel is working, and it's telling me that the changes have been saved and my reference have been saved to my, to my file. So now I've moved, and I could do this a number of different times, if I needed to move over a bunch of different references. So now, going into the actual product itself, if I want to use that reference I've just downloaded, I basically choose where I want to put the reference, click on the reference button, and then I choose from my reference repository which one I want. Now, I happen to know that it would make it simpler, and I could see just the one I really wanted. I know that this one actually had a gate. It was one of the terms that was involved. So when I put gate in, it kind of narrows it down and gives me, less to look at, so it's easier to find, just so you know. So now I can take a look at this, see what this looks like on the fly, or I can go ahead and insert it. And what will happen now is that when I click on it and I see the reference, I can go take a look at that reference, and I can even edit it further if I need to, make the exact page numbers or whatever, anything that changed, I can go ahead and edit it. Okay, so now I have a really good reference that's edited specifically for this particular case. And I'll go ahead and save it. Okay, so that's basically how we would put in a reference. And then the only other thing we haven't seen yet is how to put in like a table into the document. And a table can be like a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet, or it can be a chart, or it can be a GIF, or a JPEG, or most of the common graphics type. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick out one of these that I want to add to it. I'm going to add the table, and now the table is basically popped into here as we noted. So here's our table. Now, by the way, I mentioned we can also bring in the appendixes we want. So we have a conflict of interest form we want to load, or some other thing as we want to be part of the study. We can bring in as many attachments as we want to the appendix, and we would use this plus if we need to add another one. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this as a draft. And now comes the collaboration feature that I was really talking about when I was trying to answer the lady's question. So here's where I can go ahead now and type some very specific notes. Made changes to the approach. What do you think? And we'll fix the spelling error. Now, what you want to do now is I made this comment, and now I want to pick the people that I want to send this to. Okay, so let's say, and we don't want to pick everybody, especially if it's a longer list, because nothing ends up being worse. If you start sending a bunch of emails to your biostatistician that doesn't really apply to them, they'll stop reading them altogether. So once I pick the people that I want to send this to, I then hit send notification, and it's actually going to send an email to them with this section, linked right to this section, and the notes you said. So it's going to be sent to an email, and it's also going to be put in the needs review section. So I'm going to show this to you quickly here. The needs review section allows you to see all the things that people have asked you to do on this protocol. Tells you when it is, and now we can go right to it to edit it or use our compare function. I'll take this opportunity to go ahead and show you the compare function. So this is the compare function. You can also access this from the edit window where it says compare. So what it's doing is it's showing you the difference between the most current version and what we saved as the last saved completed version. So what you can see are it's showing you the difference between the two. It's showing you what was taken out and what was put in. It shows you that where the new references were added in. You can tell that this graph is new because it has an outside of a green square on it. You know, you can see this reference is new because it has a green number on it. So you can just very, very easily see what the differences are, and you can see the notes that I made. And one of the really nice things about Protocol Builder is I can now look at every other revision that was ever done and compare it to the most current version. And as a matter of fact, I can even make this the most current draft. And why would I do that? If we were working on, let's say, a new version of this section, but we were having a group meeting, we wanted to use the old version for that meeting, we could reset the old version as the current version, but then this is all saved, so we can come back and find our work that we want to go back to, and now that would still be there because Protocol Builder saves everything. So just so I answer, this is what I was really trying to answer your question about. Did this make sense, how Protocol Builder lets you send messages and links and such? Okay. Well, we can work with it, you know, and just make sure. But just want to make sure I answered your question. Okay. So one of the other functions of this section is the revision log. Okay, with the revision log now, we're going to see everything that's been done, but in kind of an abbreviated form. So the nice thing about our log is it's a true audit log. Can't be edited, it's real. That's really, and can be very valuable. One of our clients got in trouble with the FDA because some of their investigators were changing the audit log. So once you're in this audit log, you can not only see what was done and when, but I can pop to the compare version right away, or I can send a message on it right away if I want to. And the green is showing me that that was the last completed version, and the tan is showing me that was the last saved draft. And a white one just means it was an earlier draft. So again, these are trying to help you see and understand what's happened. This is another place we can hit the Needs Review button. The other place was from the menu. And again, we can see all the things that people have asked me to do on this protocol and go right to it to compare or go right to edit. Okay. So now we've done some, you know, hopefully some really nice editing. We hopefully are happy with how we've, where we are on this. Okay, so we've now worked on our section, we've saved it, and now let's say we're actually getting to the point where we've, you know, really are getting to the end of the study. So I'm going to show you now the output functions of Protocol Builder, which are all come from the gear wheel. Again, for the point of simplicity, we try to make all the output from the gear wheel. Okay, so I can preview a protocol at any time. And the preview protocol is a nice feature because now for the first time I can see my whole protocol as a whole rather than as a subset. And that can be very useful because it may be that the sections seem fine to you when you're working on them individually, but when you're actually seeing the flow of the document, you're not as happy. So right from here I can edit or I can send comments to people. So this is a nice tool, the preview protocol mode. We have a tool called Invite to Review, which means you can just tell anybody in your contact list that you want to look at this protocol. You can put a message in, and then it'll send them a link to the protocol with your message. So that's a way to take a look at the whole protocol if you want to take a look at that. We can share by email to somebody outside of Protocol Builder by putting in their email addresses and then a message, and it'll send them a PDF of the current version of the protocol. We can also create a PDF and a Word version at any time, but remembering these are just drafts at this point. So let's take a look real briefly here at how we properly finish off a protocol. Okay, so what we want to do is, when we finish a protocol, we want to first click on the checklist. And what we want to do is, first of all, we need to make sure that all of the sections and subsections have green circles and checks, that they're completed. And that's important, right? We want to make sure we've completed what we've done. So we go ahead and we do all of these and get green circles and checks by all the cover, synopsis, and numbered items. Once we've done that, then we come over to the checklist and we go through the checklist. And again, these are all designed just to make sure we've truly completed what we're working on. So make sure our references are there, make sure our tables are there, make sure everything's good. So once we've done that, we have green circles and checks on the left, check our checklist down here, we can hit Publish Version. So I'm going to move over to the protocol file cabinet. So all version 1s are draft, and that's your sign that it has not gone through the version. Once you've actually gone through that process that showed you and save it, that protocol will now be saved as version 2. And that's the first full version that has gone through the whole checklist process. So let's talk about maybe the normal order of events. So normally you would work on your protocol, you get to the point where you finished it, you go through the checklist, you save it, you save version 2, now you go over here, you would now, let's say, print it as a Word document, okay, and you'd save it to the section that you'd normally, wherever you'd want to save it, and this becomes your protocol that you are now going to submit to your IRB system, the eIRB system, just the way you would submit any other one you're submitting today, probably. So, it's a vanilla file, it's a standard Word file, so it's not going to cause any problems with your, your eIRB submission system. So now you go ahead and you'd submit it. Now let's say what happens is you do that, and now the IRB comes back to you with 3 things they'd like you to, address. So what you would do is you would go back into version 2. You would now deal with those things. But now we have a function I mentioned earlier, summary of changes. And if you choose to turn it on, and most people would turn it on, it's going to actually take every change you now make and put it in this section. You don't have to do it. It's going to do it for you automatically. But it's going to also give you a place to edit the rationale. So you can go ahead and just really quickly put all this stuff in. So what happens is if you use the summary of changes feature, and now you go through that same finishing process of where you have all the sections complete, go through the checklist again, should be a lot faster this time, and then save it, it's going to save this version 3. What's really nice about these versions are, when you use the summary of changes, is that at the end of the document, it's going to put this very, very, very visual summary of changes. It's going to make it very, very easy, much easier for your IRB board or your HRPP support or your program director to see what was done through changes protocol. And they don't have to go picking through the document to go figure it out. But again, other parts of the protocol, it's going to do it's going to set up the references for you. It's going to, create your list of tables and let you click on them. It's going to, create your appendices and do all this nice stuff for you so that you end up with a very presentable protocol that you can be able to turn in and use. So those are the basically closing procedures for working with protocol building. All right, so I basically hit all the main points that we like to do when we're talking about Protocol Builder. Are there any areas that you guys have questions about? I can. It does not directly. It's actually a So don't you guys have to submit a protocol, a written protocol with your IMEDRIS Um, and by the way, we have a future, which is one of the benefits of Protocol Builder, where we can actually do customization where we map fields from one application to another. So maybe when you guys are more settled on a good IRB system, maybe we'll choose, you might choose to do that. If you know what I'm saying? Yes. I think if I understand your question correctly, it's can I take basically a study that I've basically started and then, let's say, make 10 versions of the same study, which isn't, uncommon. And the answer is absolutely yes. So what you do is kind of what I was showing you a little earlier about like how, McLaren set up stuff for their residents. So what you can do is you can take Protocol Builder, put in the elements that are the standard elements that you want to, replicate, save that protocol as such, give it a name so you know that's what it is. Like in this case, I call it the protocol template for distribution. And then what you can do is you can clone that and make different versions of that study. Or you can, let's say, copy that study to, let's say, 10 other people, you know what I mean, in its early form, so if that's what you're doing it, so that those 10 people can start from there and then just add to it. Does that kind of what you were asking me about? It does not build the consent forms. We're looking at that as a future product. We've been getting feedback that people would like a consent form, but it doesn't do it at this time. It has a section for consent, but we don't do the consent forms. Are there any other questions? Yes, if I'm hearing the question, you definitely can add the IRB, and actually it's interesting. Some of the clients like NYU, which is a big user of Protocol Builder, they actually have some addresses like IRB support, HRPP support, so that they don't have to use their own names, so that you don't get in political issues with some people. By the way, so we can create accounts like that as well. Yeah, it's interesting. I believe they use iMedris at the NIH clinical trials office, and they're actually, I'm working with them right now to consider actually making Protocol Builder their protocol writer, because basically they're really interested in having a true data-driven e-protocol, and they see us being able to do that for them. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, thank you very, very much. Thanks for putting up with some of the little technical difficulties we have. But I really appreciate your time. And again, as I mentioned, we have on our help site, we have a number of help files, so you can see that again. We recorded this session, but we really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, please contact us, because we really want to make sure you're helped. So again, I appreciate your time and your interest, and we look forward to working with you in the future.